My name is Halima Ahmed. I'm a student at SOAS. I'm doing African Studies and Masters. I am from Somalia, born there, was raised in India and Kenya. I live in the US. And we are going to have our panel discussion. I'm just going to introduce our fantastic panelist. Yasin Osman, he's the founder of Shoot for Peace. It's a program it's a mentorship program. He will be joining the conversation and he'll elaborate on his journey, basically talking from being a freelance photographer to becoming one of Toronto's top change makers for 2016. Omar Munie will speak next. He's a writer, famous bag designer. He's from the Netherlands. His story is highly motivational, and he will be speaking about his journey from war-torn Somalia to becoming a successful entrepreneur and living his dream. Mo Ali, he's a British filmmaker, and his work is well received around the world. He's a member of the British Urban Film Festival, who mentors numerous young London-based filmmakers. Amina, she's a young London-based self-taught photographer enthusiast. She first picked up a camera at the age of 15, which turned into a hobby, but later turned into a life's passion, and she uses her photos to retell stories and document.
First of all, I just want to say, can I lift this up a little bit? Okay. First of all, I just want to say I was here on Friday, and I got to spend time with some Somali youth from the universities. I think they're called Somali societies. And I couldn't be there for the whole event, but they raised like 60,000 pounds for Mogadishu. So I just wanted everybody to give like a round of applause for that. I thought that was amazing. But my name is Yasin, and I'm a photographer. And it's funny because every time I say that to somebody, I'll be talking to somebody and I'll be like, hey, my name's Yasin, I'm a photographer. And the number one reply that I get every time I tell somebody this is like, oh my God, me too. Because we live in those times where everybody has a cell phone and everybody's taking photos now. But I come from Canada, come from a neighborhood called Regent Park in Toronto. And the neighborhood that I came from was really, really tough. Like, Regent Park was the first social housing project in all of Canada. And it was also considered the most dangerous neighborhood in Canada and the most homicides that were going on in Canada. And I grew up there. And my mom was raising me by herself. Never met my dad before. And my mom was working 2 jobs. Literally, she would drop me off at school when I was younger. She would go to work, pick me up from school, come back from work, drop me off at her sister's house, go back to work, and then pick me up at 1 a.m. And she would pick me up every single day, for that whole, from me being 2 years old until I was until I was old enough to just stay home by myself. And just to give you an example of how dangerous it was, she would never come and pick me up unless she would carry a baseball bat with her. Yeah, it was just super tough. And growing up for me, especially because people my age that are teenagers, you're always thinking especially as a black male, you have these 2 choices, especially when you grow up in the hood, right? You're thinking okay, which direction do I take? You're at a crossroads. And for me, it was tough because my friends and the people around me were telling me Yasin, bro, listen to this music, bro. This stuff's talking to you, man. Look at this. It's talking about being in the hood, having a single mom. This is talking to you. You gotta just and people are telling me to sell drugs but for a good cause, for me to support my mom and do that. But subhanAllah, the way it happened where I decided not to go that way is really funny because it was 1 a.m. This was the day before I had a conversation with my friends talking about the direction I wanted to take in my life. And I wake up at 1 a.m. and I heard some snoring in my house and it was coming from the kitchen. And I was like, what's going on? And this is the first time I ever seen my mom sleeping by herself, knocked out on her books in the kitchen. My mom was going to school, but she didn't, I didn't know she was going to school. And I woke up my mom and she was really embarrassed. She's like, go back to sleep. And And I went back to sleep and I thought to myself, like, at that time I was like 15 years old. From that day forward, I said to myself, Yasin, like, you can't let her down. Like, you have to, if you're not gonna work hard for yourself, you're gonna have to work hard for your mom. Like, and I decided from then on, I'm like, whatever I'm gonna do, it's gonna be positive. It's gonna be filled with everything my mom used to give me, which was so much love. Like, so then after that day, I decided my life was gonna be dedicated to just spreading love. And so after that, when I reached like probably 18 years old, and I was deciding, okay, like, what am I gonna do for the rest of my life? Like, I used to love working with kids, and I wanted to take a program called Early Childhood Education, and I wanted to become a preschool teacher. Like, I had it all planned out until I told my friends, and my friends were like, bro, you're gonna be changing diapers your whole life? What are you talking about? Like, and I'm like, for real, that's true. Like, I can't do that, you know? And I decided to ask them, okay, what do you think I should do? They told me, do something like, do some computer science or something, like, be a man. Like, I'm like, oh, you're right, man. Like, I really got to do that. And I took it and I dropped out the next semester, like, you know. And I came back to my friends and I said, what do I do now? And they're just throwing me random stuff. And I kept taking it and I kept dropping out, you know. And the thing is, we grow up wanting to give to others. We grow up at a young age, we're taught so much about sharing and caring and worrying about other people, but we're never taught to love ourselves. You know, we're never taught to care for ourselves, because that's the most important thing. You know, you can't give love if you don't know how to love yourself. So it was one day where I came out of the mosque super depressed, because like the 2 years that I kept going into school and dropping out, even though I knew what I wanted to do, I was really depressed. I felt like I couldn't choose it. And this is why when you give advice, I think the most important thing is when you give advice and how. It's all about the moment. You know, my whole life I've heard people tell me, do what you love, do what you love, do what you love. But in those 2 years that I was struggling, I needed somebody to tell me that, and I wasn't getting that, you know? And I came out of the mosque and this guy was like, hey, how you doing, Yasin? And I said, I'm good, and I walked away. And he called me back and he said, listen, seriously, how are you doing? You know, and I turned back around and I just vented. I said, yo, this is going on. I want to take this program. I want to do this. I want to do that. And he told me, brother, listen, why do you care so much about what other people think? Like, you got to live for yourself. You got to, if you want to, no one's going to live your life for you. You know, you got to live your life yourself. So if you love someone, go chase it. After that, I went on the website and it was a deadline, you know, and I applied for the program, got in, and I worked as a preschool teacher for 2 years. And so after that, because I allowed myself to be in this positive space where everything was going well for me and I was happy, it allowed me to like find other things that I love within my life, you know, which was photography. And slowly I started taking photos with my phone, but this time I didn't share it with nobody. You know, and I always tell people, like, never share anything with anybody except that you completely love it, because you don't want anybody to affect it at all. Like, and I didn't want anybody to affect how I felt about photography. That, like, it's the same thing like if you buy like a pair of shoes and you really love it, and you go to your friend and you go, hey, what do you think about these pair of shoes? And they go, it's all right. And you're like, what? Like, these are amazing. And you might not wear those shoes again just because of that person. You know, so I didn't want that to happen with photography, so I did not mention to anybody that I took photos. After a few years, I made this account, this private account with like, I think it was like captured by 336.55, like it was just this random Instagram page where I was putting up photos and putting a million hashtags, but I was practicing and I was taking photos, and the page started getting popular, and so I changed the name. And then I started getting emailed and messaged by different companies asking me to take photos for them and do things. And then I finally had to like break the news to them and tell them I don't even own a camera. This is with my iPhone, you know. And it was finally time to invest in my actual camera, you know. And I bought my first camera through like all my friends who believed in me, and they pitched in, and we went like $50 here, $100 here. Cameras are expensive, like, so I needed like that support. Bought the camera, and I continued taking photos, and from then on it was history. because I worked as a preschool teacher, like I loved working with kids so much, I thought, hey, how could I combine my two loves with taking photos and working with kids? So I started this program called Shoot for Peace. And the way that it happened was, like, because my neighborhood is such a tight-knit neighborhood, everybody knows one another. So when I walk around in my neighborhood and I'm carrying my camera, like the kids see me, and like before they don't even say hi to me, they just start posing. Because they know, like, yo, take the picture, fam, like, yo, you know, and they already know, like, so I'm like, yo, do you guys want to learn how to take photos? Do you guys want to do that? You guys interested in that? Yo, we thought you would never ask, man. Like, yo, give me the camera right now, you know, and they were excited. And so we started a program. It was me and like 15 other kids just walking around with one camera in the neighborhood. We would share, and when the others, when two people are using the camera, we're all just having a conversation, walking around. And we launched this hashtag called Shoot for Peace, and it became super popular on Instagram, and people were getting involved and saying, oh my God, we love what you guys are doing. And then the local newspapers, and then American Photo Mag, and Upworthy, and all these different kind of agencies, news agencies were like getting involved and were excited about the things we did, until Canon got involved. And Canon is a company that makes cameras. And Canon was like, yo, we love what you're doing. How can we collaborate? I said, to be honest, I'm not trying to talk unless you guys are trying to hook up all my kids with cameras, you know? And they're like, okay, we're gonna get back to you. And they didn't email me back for like 2 months. And then I'm like, oh, it's all good. But they ended up messaging me back, and they're like, okay, let's do it. Man, you guys don't understand how happy I was. Like, imagine working so hard, like thinking, like, it's just the fact that snow, rain, we're walking around with one camera, iPods, iPads, like, kids are taking photos with iPads on the street, like, you know, so I didn't tell them that anything about Canon, like, but what happened was Canon hit me back. We decided that we were gonna surprise the kids with cameras during the winter break. You know, we got them all in the room, and we said, you guys have been working real hard, and we're proud of you guys. Look what's inside the bag. And they opened it. Everyone was screaming, like, everyone was like, oh my God, what? Are you serious? Say wallahi, this is real. You know, and some of the kids were asking me, like, okay, but do we have to give this back? Like, no, this is yours. You know, and alhamdulillah, since then, like, it's been a year since then, and the kids have been getting jobs through photography, and the kids have been shooting their friends, getting paid, shooting for like local agencies in the neighborhood, and it's really beautiful, because for me it was all worth it when one of the kids said this one thing to me. He's like, Yasin, he called me and he said, Yasin, yo, someone messaged me and said, yo, I need to give them my email, but I don't have an email. And they're gonna send me a check, but I don't even have a bank account. You know? So can I put your name? I said, okay, I'm gonna contact your mom, we're gonna get you set up, we're gonna set everything up for you. And he was like 11 years old. And I said to him, and then I said, are you excited, are you happy? He's like, man, I never knew you can make money off of something that's cool. And I just thought that, I thought, like, subhanAllah, like, when he just said that, those words to me, for me, it was all worth it. I'm like, you know what, like, alhamdulillah, this is amazing. This is definitely the right thing to do. But since then, yeah, they've been getting jobs, and we're working on a project. I'm working on a project right now. I'm gonna start, inshallah, soon, an all-girls Shoot for Peace for young girls. Thanks.
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Omar Munie. Someone heard before from my name? Oh, okay. I think it's better if I talk Dutch because I see a lot of Dutch people. But I can tell you, my Dutch is better than my English. But I'm gonna try to do it in English. First, I want to thank Ali to invite me here, and Aisha to organize everything for us here, for me and my colleague, assistant Shirley. Shirley said this morning, I think I will be the only white girl. Sorry. And I told her, I think I will see a lot of Somali people, and I never saw so many Somali people together. For me, it's the first time. But I talk every day Somali, of course, with my parents, and I see them every day. My name is Omar. I think you already know I'm designing bags, handbags, exclusive handbags from the Netherlands. But before I did that, I was a refugee from Somali. I think you recognize that all. We used to live in Mogadishu. And when we living there, everything was okay. There was no war on that time in our side. And then the war started, and my mom said, we need to go, we need to move from here. And it was not easy to move directly. She said, first we need to go to Kenya by boat. I think some of you knows that place. When you go with that boat, it took for a week, and it was not always safe because it was for like 100 people, and 300 people was getting in that boat. And my uncle said, I don't go because it's not safe. But my mom said, we will go because it's very dangerous here. And we took that boat, and after 1 week, we came in Kenya and we tried to reach our uncle. He was the next day already shot, and he was dead. So I'm very happy to sit here because of my mom. I didn't saw my father a lot because my mom was doing a lot of things by herself. That's why I'm very proud of her. And finally in Kenya, Tanzania, she said, you go to the Netherlands, me and my 2 brothers and sisters. So she put us on the plane. She said, go to Europe for a better future. So we went on the plane, and she said, I will come after 1 week. And that week took for 4 years. So in the Netherlands, I started to think for my own. There was the moment that I was thinking like, I need to take my opportunities here. I was 9 years old, but I was handling without mother. And, that was not easy. But I learned a lot of things from that moment. And I was with my 2 little brothers, and my sister was like 17 years. So we needed to help each other. And we learned also to love each other. And like for 11 years, we went there to the refugee center. And in the Netherlands, they help us very well. I think you all know, you all recognize that. It was very good, especially that time. Now it's changed. And after 4 years, my mom, she came, and I was liking to do some fashion. And my mom, she didn't like that because she said, I did everything for you to bring you here to Europe. So, and you need to do something with Europe. And now you're going to do these things in the fashion. I did that. And when you do that in Somali, you don't get a lot of money. My father used to do that. My sister was a very good tailor. My brother was a very good tailor. But only my mom was thinking, no, please don't do fashion. And I was thinking, no, I wanted to do fashion because I like it and it's very easy. Everything what I do, it's a success. And I can make everyone happy on school and everyone like what I'm doing. And it's very easy. So I started to make the first bag on the kitchen table next to my mom, and she didn't like it, but I didn't. And I made the first bag, and I came in to my class with the other students, and I had directly 3 students who wanted to buy my bag. I said, is that so? Keep it. I will come tomorrow back with 3 bags for you all, and I will sell it for 35 euros, guilders at that time. And today I brought my first bag with me. So I came with this bag, and the lady said we wanted to have one. And I saw it, and I was thinking, wow, that's very nice. Now I'm doing something that I like, something that has to do with my school. And I was just 17 for the first time. I was getting money. And from that day was the bag always on my side. And I started my company. I was 17 years on school, during my school time. And I started, and I was starting to sell some friends. And it was getting very hard, and it was getting so very hard that I was selling on my 17. On Thursday night, I was flying to America to sell it to Macy's. And Monday, I was already back again on school. So I was getting very, very hard. And now we sell like in Harrods, Selfridge, Galerie Lafayette, everywhere. And we have clients like Oprah Winfrey, Hillary Clinton, Jane Fonda. And we have... The special things from our bags is we made everything in the Netherlands, and we have a very big shop next to the Queen in the Netherlands. And we produce everything. We will have 12 people working, and everything is handmade. And you know, when I was 17, I realized my dream already. And now I'm like for 12 years working on my dream. And after a few years, I really realized everything what I ever dreamed about it. And I was thinking to get money and to think for myself. It was not enough for me. You know, I knew how I became, the things what I was doing, and I was thinking I need to help people around me. So I started the Dream Factory. In the Dream Factory, what we do is people helping with them dream, people who has no work. We try to learn them the craftsmanship, how you build bags, and then after 6 months, when we learn them, they can work in our production. So we believe them to follow the dream. And after that, in the Netherlands, they asked me to speak. And I speak like every week once. And after speaking, I inspired a lot of people. And just to inspire people was not enough for me. Because I inspired them because I was a refugee and I realized my dream. And I think it's very important to help also the new refugees now. So I started my own foundation. We called it the Dutch Tulip. And I was thinking I wanted to start a foundation, but I don't need any help from the government. I want to start this foundation from my heart, because I want to start this, and I will start this with my own talents. So I designed a bag only for the foundation. So we sell that, it brings money, and it helps foundation. What we are doing in this foundation is to help refugees with the dreams too. Refugees who has talents, we bring them to CEOs, and we bring them together so they can work there, and then after they can work there for a long time. And to get also money for their foundation is what I designed. You just asked, no, is this one of your piece work? Yes, it is. This bracelet, I designed it. It's a very special one because we made it from the life vest from the refugees in Lesbos. Refugees who get safely at the island, and we take the life vest from there and we bring them to Amsterdam. And in our factory, we make this bracelet. And we sell this bracelet and we collect the money for our foundation. And when you're wearing this bracelet, you also show diversity is very important in our society. So you showed everything. And we already sold like 10,000 pieces in the Royal House and a lot of ministers wearing this bracelet. I'm very proud of it. So my message for today is not only to doing the things what you like. When you're doing that, try also to help the people around you. Because the dream is, to have big dreams is okay, but dream together is much better. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't really talk in front of people that much. I'm normally behind the camera, so you have to excuse my... I'm not going to swear, but I'm really bad at talking in public, okay? So, skara leho. My name is Muhammad Ali. In the UK, they call me Mo Ali. I'm a film director. I started off making, how can I start? Basically, when I was very young, at 8 years old, I used to be addicted to films like Rambo, Terminator. Everybody would go out and play football, and I would be in front of a television watching films. I'm not lying to you. I would watch and watch to the point where my hoy would slap me in the back of the head and go do something. But somehow I was addicted to it. But being young Somali in Britain, you never seen a hero. You don't even know what a film director is, you know? Up there that I could look up to, I didn't know. So I didn't even have an access of what film directing was. I just knew that I loved this little box and what it was about. And then one day, at the age of 15, I just plucked up the courage and, you know, I said, I've got to do something. It's either I'm going to be a street kid somewhere, or I have to risk everything and achieve my goal. So I go to Hoya, I go, Mom, I know what I'm doing. She goes, what? Film director. What? What's that? You know, action rather. Why? You know, all Mom wants to be a pilot, a doctor, or a politician, right? So my mom was incredibly disappointed that I wanted to be a director, but I still wanted to do that. So I went to college, studied media, went to university, kind of quit early because I wanted to go on set instead of read about it. I'm a very practical person. So I went to university, didn't like it, came back to London, and I knew in the film industry they would not really employ you without grades or anything. So after spending 6 months at uni, I decided I have to have a plan to get into this industry. I can't just guess it or risk everything for nothing. So for about a month and a half, I sat down with myself, like yourself, and came up with a thing called a blueprint in my head. But I wrote it down. A blueprint is I plan for the next 15 years of my life. I literally was Sluffery in a sense. It was the scariest thing I ever did, because that's who you get to find out what you're really about, what you could achieve in your head. So I sat down for a month and a half and just planned where I am now, where I want to be in the next 5 years, where I want to be in the 5 years after that, and the next 5, you know? My goal was to be, after 15 years, to make my first feature film, you know? And alhamdulillah, the first step is to work in the film industry. Okay, how do I get into the film industry? I know nobody. I don't have any qualifications. I don't have anything. So I said, you know what? The best way I could get in, if any businessman, I don't want to charge him any money. I'll just get in there and say, look, my name is Mo Ali. I want to be in films. I'll work for you for free. That word free made everybody excited because they didn't have to pay me, you know? So any producer, really, they love money. So if anybody says I'll work for free, they'll hire you, you know? So I started working on film sets for free for about 3.5 years. So imagine having no money, nothing to eat, nothing to travel with, sleeping on couches for 3 years. But it was such a great education. There were days where, like, you know, early morning, you know, you have to be on set around 6 in the morning. So imagine, for me, I had no money to even travel with. So I had to kind of jump on buses, you know, night buses and stuff like that, to the point where the bus drivers started to recognize me and go, Mo, come in, you know? They got so used to me. They were like, you know what, we know what you're about, just come in. But my thing was, if I'm going to offer myself my service on my skill level for free, you can't put me in a room and make me make coffee, like a run-on set, you make coffees and carry stuff. And my deal was, I'll work for you for free, providing that you move me around the departments so I could learn and network. So if you do that, I'll work for you for free. So I'll come one day, first day, I'll make coffee, but then I'll go, take me behind the camera. I want to learn behind the camera with the camera team. I'll start learning from the camera team, then start learning from the lighting team, sound. I started getting my education that way, like really raw. But what was really good is they started to know who I was and what I was about. So every time we finish shooting, they'll go, Mo, we're doing another short film. Do you want to come on board? And I'll agree. So for 3 years, I was doing that. And I was climbing up from being a runner, which is someone who makes teas and carries stuff, to being a first AD, which is assistant director. So imagine the first time I get hired as an assistant director on this little feature film, which was 100 grand. I was excited, right? So what I decided to do was invite my mum, you know, to show her, listen, Mum, I've made it, look at me, right? And this film was a sci-fi film in a film studio where we hired about 100 people to paint themselves green like aliens, and we built a set, right? And this was the biggest day on this film shoot, right? So I decided to call bring my mom to see her and go, Hoya, look, this is amazing, right? Your son's made it. I told the director, get his blessing, get the producer's blessing. We hire Addison Lee, pick her up, right? I bring her in, as an AD, you get a clipboard, you get a microphone, you get a headpiece. I look professional, right? When Sogali, I brought her in, and Somali mums, hijab, really screw face, She comes in, starts staring everybody out. And I went, you gotta be nice, okay? So I put her behind the monitor, behind the director and the producers, and I'm standing there with my clipboard. And on set, there's things, how it works is they go quiet on set, roll camera, roll sound, and the director goes action, right? So you got 100 people in position, it takes 2 hours to set up. Hoy's behind the director, I'm nudging her going, look at this. She's just, her eyes are screwed face, thinking, why are you wasting my time? And then, we're ready to shoot, roll, quiet everybody, roll camera, roll sound. The director goes action, 100 people moving around. Hoya looks at the director, looks at me. During the take, she goes, why are you not doing his job? And then, God bless her. She was, since then I've never invited her to set, nothing. But that day was really hilarious to me. I realized, she had ambitions. No matter what I wanted to achieve, that kind of very ambitious. They push you, they don't praise you, which is great. So from then on, working on that film set, I decided to make my music video, get into music video. So my first ever music video, Lethal B Power Midbaqashan. Have you heard of Lethal B and all that stuff? You guys probably, Yasin, sorry man, and grime music, yeah? I did Pow, which was one of the biggest urban music videos, and the budget for that was £200. And the funny thing is, again, I had, for £200 to shoot a music video with 10 artists, I had to shoot in Hoya's house for one scene. So imagine the grime scene of who's who and Hoya making Somali tea for them, And I'm looking at my younger brother and go, we've made it, this is amazing. But those kind of things kind of make me laugh. But from then on, I took everything very seriously because I sat with my blueprint. And from then on, I did over 90 music videos for everybody in the grime scene, alhamdulillah. From then, what was really interesting, I set up my own production company where we shot music videos for big labels. And, that was exciting. And then one day, within 6 years of my blueprint, a film company came to me. And they offered me a movie. And I was like, wow. That's amazing. I'm way ahead of my schedule, but I've never done a film before, So I read the script, but I thought, what, you have to jump in this industry. You have to go. So I sat down with myself and I sat down with the family and I said, I'm going to do this film. And they agreed. Went back to the film guys and I was like, right, I'm going to do this. Only you guys, if I direct, if I hire my crew, but I want to have a scene with Somali people in it, I had to give back. I want to have not my people in, it's but I want to teach young Somali filmmakers that there's someone out there for me because there was nobody out there for me. So the only way I could do is anything that I do, I try and bring in my people and teach them a little bit behind the scenes. So one of the greatest things I ever did was have a scene full of 20 Somali actors on set. None of them were pirates or terrorists or nothing like that. They were acting and they were learning on set, And what was really good about that film, alhamdulillah, it's not the best film, but it was a box office hit. It was a top 5 in the UK box office. So imagine you're just chilling out and you're watching your movie channel and they do that top 10 count, and then you see your film. I was like, my God, alhamdulillah, I'm a film director. But normally 9 out of 10, you would rest on your laurels and think, I've made it. Actually, that day was the most depressing day of my life because no matter what success it is, I wanted to be a film director, but I didn't learn enough. I wanted to get better. So I actually stopped making anything for 2 years and learned the business side of filmmaking. Contracts, your creative right, where does the money go? How do you split your money? Who's your agent? Who's the producer? Can you become a producer? All of that, because it's show business, the business side, nobody taught me that. So I wanted to go back and learn all of that, and I spent 2 years to improve myself. And then, alhamdulillah, I wrote a script, sold it, directed it, produced it, and it was a big hit in America and stuff like that, not in the UK because it was pirated. But that film, Montana, have you heard of Montana? Anybody? Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones. So we had Lady Stark from Game of Thrones, and that was quite cool. Making films is, you spend 3 to 4 years of your life making it, and it's very dedicated, it's very obsessive way of life, your hustle done. And I'm very proud now that I see young Somali brothers and sisters getting into this entertainment, creative industry, and I am always supportive of them, to the point where I went back to Somaliland this year, was it this year? I don't know Somali that well, but when you're you know, to the point where I went back and I did a documentary about Somaliland, but really it was just a culture of Somalia and Ditkena, how to express ourselves, what the land looks like. And I just came back from the BFI, and I'm having a screening there next month, so you are all invited. So this is the first Somali Horn of Africa creative thing that's ever been screened at the BFI in history, which is, I'm very proud about that. So, plus, you know, right now I'm doing another film, alhamdulillah, in Morocco for a more Arabic film, but at the same time I'm launching a Somali Netflix. Yes. Because I wanted to say it now because there's loads of Somalis here. Yeah. But right now, how does it look? Amazing, it's amazing. But the whole idea of Hawaii is to have all of us control our own goal, our own creativity. None of, you know, we direct our own future right now and express ourselves and celebrate our culture to the world, you know? So I'm headhunting as much Somali talent around the world as possible. I want to sit with you, break bread with you, and work with you. And inshallah, we'll do that. So thank you very much for your time.
Some of you don't might know me as Mina Shoots. And I'm a 22-year-old photographer. I don't like to call myself a photographer. Yasin put me off it now, so I'm just going to say I'm Somali creative from London. Everyone started with their family background, so I'm the Hoya Matala generation. I was born here. My mom came from Somalia. In the mid-90s, I have 5 to 6 older siblings. And growing up, my mum raised us all alone here in London, in northwest London, if anyone's from northwest. Gang. My mum, she raised us in northwest London all by herself, and she did the best job that she could do, and I couldn't ask for anything better. I have 5 older sisters, and so growing up, they were the people that I looked up to. They all grew up to enter professional fields, you know, midwifery, teaching, whatnot. And I never knew what I wanted to do in high school. So whilst I was in high school, I was good at everything. I was good at maths. I wasn't great at science. But I was good at English, good at PE, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew I wanted to do something with art. But with me, is even if I love something, if it does not make my mum happy, then I would not pursue it. I would put my mum's happiness before mine, because she gave up everything for us, so that's the least that I could do for her. So when I was in sixth form, I was picking my sixth form A-levels, and I was good at maths, so my older sister, she's someone I looked up to very, very much, she advised me to go down the maths route, because I was pretty good at maths, so I did accounting, I did business, and I did media, because I loved it so much. I was like, if I'm gonna do a career in something else, at least let me just learn the strings of photography and media. So I did media A-levels, finished my A-levels, I went on to uni, and that's when I first picked up my camera when I was in sixth form. We used to go around, Ikran knows, we went to the same sixth form. We used to go around the sixth form. I used to grab a few Somali boys and other people and take pictures of them, go back to the editing suite. They sucked. They were the worst pictures I ever took, but I look back at it now, and to me now it's a memory. I went to uni, and I like photographing Somali people. I'm not biased or nothing, but I just love my people. So I used to take let me not go that far along yet. So I used to shoot with my iPhone 4 when Instagram first came out, and there's the filters that with Instagram, so I just used to post. These times I had like 50 followers. And I had some loyal likers who always used to like my pictures, even though a lot of it was the basic, you know, the sunset, the bus passing in Oxford Street, those kind of pictures. And then when I went to uni, my first ever student finance, I brought myself a camera. I didn't tell my mum that, but I brought myself a camera, and then I just used to head down to every single Somali event that happened in London. If you guys go to Somali events often, I'm sure you've probably seen me at most of them. And the first ever Somali big event that I came to with my camera was Somaliweek Festival in 2014. So, yeah. So I came, I just shot, took pictures of artists, whatnot, put it up on social media, and then I remember I came across someone on Instagram who was a photographer based in Canada, so I thought, let me try to get advice from him. I DM'd him, and I said, yo, bro, love your work. I'm starting out to be a photographer, can you give me advice? And he actually responded to my DM. He gave me advice about editing and whatnot, and then since then, it's just been a crazy journey. I've just been shooting Somali events, portraits, you name it. The reason why I do events, people always ask me, why don't you do weddings? That's where the money's at. The British media, they put Somalis in the worst light ever. And if I'm not going to use my creativity to showcase the excellence that's in the UK, that's Somalis, then who's going to do it? Woo. No one's going to do it. So I carried on, special thanks to the International Somali Awards. I shot that on the launching year, which was a great night of Somali excellence. And ever since then, my goal is just to use social media and my camera and my editing skills just to put the British Somali excellence out there. Because shout out to Mo Farah, he's doing bits, but there's so many other great Somalis out there that in the UK that we're more than just benefit scroungers and whatnot and stabbing people, etc. There's so much excellence going on that I feel like we have to showcase it. And the Somali creativity field in the UK, in London specifically, is possibly one of the best ones because everyone knows each other, everyone helps each other, and most importantly, everybody always tries to give back to people. So whenever I need advice, I talk to Mo. He always gives me advice. I talk to Mabdul there. He gives me advice. Ikran gives me advice. Yasmin gives me advice. So many people give me advice. And my goal is one day to do, not exactly like shoot for peace, but just to teach Somalis to use their creativity, especially the younger generation. Anything that keeps them off the streets, anything that keeps them off getting up to Higi Haga outside, then I feel like I've done my job. So I'm not going to waffle on because I'm sure people have questions. So yeah, that's me.
I wanted to ask you guys a question in terms of, I know that within our families, this was a topic that came up with you guys, everyone talking about the family and the moms. Oftentimes, if you're not going the traditional path of, being an engineering or a doctor or lawyer, you get that sort of discouragement. Or what are you going to do with photography? So did you guys face any challenges in terms of the profession that you guys have chosen? How do you, I know you touched a little bit upon it, but how did you overcome any sort of barriers on your way, and what would be your advice for Somali parents especially who have children who are going beyond just being a doctor or a lawyer? I'm not saying it's bad, but we're just very diverse.
I mean, that's a really good question. That's a question that people ask me often. To be honest, when I first bought my camera and my mom found the receipt, and she seen it said I think it was $1,000, and my mom's like, hey, and I'm like, what? What's going on? And she's like, don't try to I know what you're trying to do. Don't try to. And I'm just like, what? But then after that, I continued taking photos, and then I continued showing her all the good work that I was doing. What's important is that you show your parents, first of all, how important it is to you. And second of all, that you're good. Because the number one thing is our parents, the reason that they keep telling us lawyers, doctors, to get us get a degree, to go to school, is because they want you to be independent. They want you to not have to rely on anybody else. They want you to be good. They worked hard and they just want to make sure that you're going to be all right. And for me, wanting to take photography full time and seriously, I had to prove that to her. And so what I would do is I would save the checks, like all the things that I was doing. I would show her the comments. Look, Hoya, someone said my photography inspires them. You know, a big one was I worked really hard this one year, and alhamdulillah, in 2017, a book came out where they put in the 100 influential Canadians in Canada. And I was in that book, and they put me as one of the people in that book, and I bought my mom the book. And I showed my mom, I said, Hoy, look at this. This is the 100 influential Canadians in Canada. And my mom was like, oh, mashallah, this is a nice book. Inshallah, Hoy, one day you're going to be in it. Don't worry, Hoy. Please, Hoy, don't worry. Inshallah, you're a good boy. And then I said, Hoy, look. And I opened the page to my page. And she's like, subhanallah, this is you? And I said, yes, this is me. And she's seen at the bottom, it said, Yasin Osman, it said photographer. And she looked at me, she's like, this is what you do for real? Like, this is what you really want to do? I said, yes. It's been 3 years I've been telling you, you know? And she's like, okay, you know what? I support you and I'm happy for you. And the thing is, it's because I showed her, you know, how important it was to me, and I showed her that I was good, especially all the things that I was doing in Somalia. It made her proud, and so yeah.
Anyone else? Feel free to answer.
I think for me, I mean, you heard the story, but I understand, you know, especially in film, why I wanted to. She was worried that I may kind of lose, you know, may kind of not succeed in it, because as Somalis for a long time, we never really did films, you know, for 30 years, 40 years. When I was in Hargeisa, I realized I was like the first one that did a feature film in like 30 years that went out in cinema, 35 years, 40 years. Before that, that was the last time a film from a Somali has ever been made. So I was like, I was really shocked to find that out. And then it made me think, before the Dagal, we were very incredibly creative people, incredibly creative, you know? And I think when the war happened, it kind of, you know, we put the paintbrush down and stuff like that and picked up other things. And I think sometimes parents kind of worry this is no vocation because they don't see that Ken in the same industry, you know? So being the first, she was kind of worried that I may fail. But also, a couple of years ago, quite early in my career, I went to visit her in the house. You know, I've got the key to the good again, so I popped in, and I heard her on the phone to her friends going, "Ina kega flam to somewhere, blah, 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 blah." And I kept quiet, you know, and I could hear how proud she is, you know, trying to show off with her friends, you know? And then I walk in when she hung up and she didn't say anything, you know? And what was interesting, I think she's the type of parents that want to push you, and I took that on. But I don't think you should be discouraged about what parents feel. I think the way you could show them how long term is that if you climb, they'd support you, you know? You don't need approval from your parents that much unless you're not doing anything bad. But if you believe this is the goal for you, go for it, and long term they'll see how much you care and love it, and they'll support you, you know, subconsciously or quietly. That's what I think.
Reimagining identity and can you guys hear me?
No, not this.
My bad. So just keeping in mind with the theme for the festival and also our panel discussion, reimagining identity and home. Can you just talk a little bit more about, like all of you, about Somali Nemo? I read this interesting quote that said, you know, the fish even in the fisherman's net still carries the smell of the sea. So despite of the places where we travel to in life, Somalia has impacted. You know, being Somali has impacted the way we think in terms of, you guys have talked about representation, and at the moment we don't see that great representation of Somali or just black people in general. So if you could just talk about a little bit about, you know, the audience that you have in mind when you create your works, and just about Somali.
Why am I going first all the time? I was sick. I mean, the impact, when I make stuff, when I make films or any kind of like content, I don't just specifically think for Somalis, you know? You got to think outside of that, you know? I think the bigger, broader audience you get, you will see your people be interested in it. You know, I try and kind of like not just make stuff for my people, but what was really interesting is I never went back home ever in my life. So this year was the first time I went back, and I realized how Somali I am, you know? I honestly thought I'm not Somali. Not like in a bad way, I just didn't think I had the mannerisms and stuff like that. But the minute I went back home, I realized I'm very Somali and I have that passion, that drive, that hanaq nimo, you know? And a little slight arrogance as well. From Bur'a, that's why. Is there any Bur'a people from here? Arrogant people, yes. I love you guys anyway. It's a tough place, but I try and make my stuff for everybody, and I don't make it exclusive for Adan people or Africans or this. Film is open to everybody, and I think it's important to kind of like make sure your center is I am Somali. I'm a Somali director. But really I live in Europe, and I try not to be called a black director. I'm a director no matter what. I'm proud Somali. And a proud Somali director, but I work in an industry where I don't care about race, religion, I just want to make my work, So sometimes I'm a little just goal about making the project and trying to make for the biggest audience as possible. Okay?
So when I do photography, I always try to show my Somaliness, whether it's the difference of what we were back in the day and what we are now in the 21st century, or whether it's just photographing first-generation refugee kids who are just like me, who are dual identity and struggling between the Britishness and the Somaliness. I never have a specific target audience, but like you said, Somalia and Somalis are never necessarily in the media for good stuff. That's why when it comes to being a creative, and I know there's quite a few Somali journalists who cover for ITV, who cover for Al Jazeera, who cover for Channel 4, and all they ever cover is the bomb blasts that happen back at home. They don't cover the Mogadishu Book Fair. They don't cover the Hargeisa Book Fair. They don't cover none of that. I think since my friend Ikran started working at BuzzFeed, I've seen so many articles about successful Somalis on BuzzFeed, more than I ever have. So give a shout out to Ikran. So I don't have a particular audience when it comes to putting my work out there, but it's more about making Somalis feel comfortable with who we are and what we are and being proud about it, and most importantly trying to not change but show other people what we really are, because there's more to us than terrorism, piracy. There's creativeness, there's doctors, there's everything, there's musicians, there's everything. So it's just trying to show that and just doing the best that I can and enjoying what I do.
I just wanna add on to what Mina said. It's true. Like as a creative, especially myself, like as a photographer, what's important to me is changing the narrative. What's important for me is for people to not associate pirates with Somalis, and not the first thing to think about savages and all of that when they think about Somalis, to think about smiling faces. And I think some of you guys knew that I was taking photos for Love Army, the Love Army for Somalia campaign. I was there in Somalia taking photos. And the most important thing to me, regardless of what anybody had said to me, I already, once I came to the country, I already had an agenda. Like, I knew I was taking photos of children that are smiling, people that are laughing, people that are happy, regardless of what anybody had told me to, and that's what I did. And there were other people there, there were other journalists there. There was this another journalist that I seen who wasn't Somali, and this little girl fell down, she scraped her knee, and she started crying. And he ran to take the photo. I ran after him, blocked his camera, took my shirt, wiped her face, because she had snuck, she's crying, right? Wiped her nose, and just carried her and walked away. And I said, don't even try that. And the same guy I watched, the thing is, I watched him the whole time taking photos of people, carrying Chad and, all this stuff, and I was saying, bro, what are you doing, man? And he's like, no, I'm just taking photos of, and this is the thing, we have to be the ones that step up for our own people. We have to be the ones that step up and change the narrative, because nobody's gonna do it for us. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've grown up in two worlds. I always said, at home I'm 100% Somalian. Outside I'm Dutch. You know, I learned a lot from my mother. But I think to make success in this Western world, you also need to see what's happening around you. Because we cannot go back after 10 years, I think. Also not after 20 years. So you need to make your future here. But it's very important to keep your things. And so I'm also very I'm practicing also. And I see my mom every day. I can eat everywhere in the world, but I eat at least every time at home by mom. But I think it's really too good to see also what's happening outside. That's why I made in the Netherlands a very big campaign. I'm also help the Royal House with this campaign from diversity. What you just said, you know, you're Somalian, but you work with a lot of different people. For me, it's very, very important to also to understand other people. You know, if I want someone else want to understand me, it's very important so I can understand also them. So it's very important to be 100% Somalian, but also understand other people.
Oftentimes, you know, as Somalis, my bad, I keep on forgetting about this. So I'm going to ask you guys about self-care. I know that oftentimes, you know, as Somalis, there's this expectation as, you know, there's nothing wrong, you know, just keep on going. So, like, if you're ever overwhelmed with emotions or stress from work, how do you self-care? How do you self-love?
You know, I try and eat healthy and drink water as much as possible, but sanity-wise, you know, I've started praying. You know, I honestly, well, I never expected I'll ever pray, and you know, but it really centers me and kind of focuses me, and alhamdulillah, you know, I'm learning. I'm reading books about how to pray, and you know, since I've came back from Somalia, you know, I had to Google how to do wudu. You know, that's how bad it is. That's how I didn't know about religion, Kega. So self-care, I try and, you know, not to kind of go into places that it's not me anymore. You know, it's about kind of thinking about long term and being just a good, healthy human being. You know, I try not to smoke, even though I had one today, thanks to my cousin up there. But you know, I work at least 19 hours, 20 hours a day sometimes, seriously. So it's very high pressure. So anytime I could have a center of meditation, whether it's praying, reading a book, or listening to kind of old school jazz and weird stuff, and just to calm me down while I work, that's how I self-love, you know? Plus, I have like a huge nephew and nieces of like 25. So hanging with them, kind of know why I'm making my projects now is to teach them there's someone like me. I can make inshallah cartoons, you know, those kind of things center me now. So alhamdulillah, that's my self-love, you know.
I think that's very important. I have 40 nephews. And you know, I was starting praying from when I was 9 years old. So until now, I pray every day. I never miss one praying, because I think we all think he's doing some fashion and he forget the rest. No, it doesn't work like that. I think because I follow my deen every day, that's why the success came, really. In our factory, I have my office. The only thing I do in my office is praying, and it works. And yeah, never forget where you come from.
Life around me is praying and spending time with my mum, and spending time with my nieces and nephews. I have 9 nephews. Astaghfirullah, I lied. I have 7 nephews and 2 nieces. So I have 9 nieces and nephews. And when I spend time with the youngest one out of them all, it just brings the happiness back into me. So even if I'm feeling down and I'm feeling sad or depressed or overwhelmed or anything, when I see my nephews and my nieces and my mum, it just reminds me like what I'm doing and the importance of it. So as long as they know that they can, my nephew brags about me at his school to the Somali kids in his class. This is a funny story. He came to me one day and he was like, Hubs, because that's what he calls me, Habiero, but he calls me Hubs. He was like, Hubs, guess what? I was like, what? He was like, a girl in my class, her mum knows who you are. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, Hubs. I said to her, my auntie is Mina Shoots. And she said, my mum follows her on Instagram. So, yeah, knowing my nephew can boast about me and be proud about me is kind of what keeps it all going. So, yeah.
I think a running theme here, from what everybody mentioned, was prayer. Definitely for me, I believe all success comes from prayer, definitely. But self-care, man, I don't know, you guys say moist, right? Yo, man, I'm the most moist person ever. Like, I'm always reading poetry and all that, and for me, that definitely helps me. Like, I read poetry, I try to write, I send it to my friends, like, all these issues, like, put it up on Instagram, you know, and all these issues, like, I feel like people associate with masculinity is not necessarily true. Like, yeah, we could, like, I feel like you could talk about love, like, I feel like it's important, you know, talk about, because a lot of times the thing is we give the love that we like to receive, but you have to learn how other people want to be loved, right? Before you can give them love, you know, because not everybody loves to be loved the same way, you know? But yeah, like, I think in terms of self-care, that's important, and I'm trying to think about anything else. Yeah, like, I like spending time with the elderly and the children. Like, I love, because my career was, I used to work as a preschool teacher, I would spend most of my time with kids, but also I would spend time with the elderly, because honestly, the stories that you can get from them, it's just so humbling, and you learn so much from them. So I would definitely recommend anybody to visit the sick or visit somebody elderly, and it'll definitely change your life. Did you mean by, like, other people not liking what you do in the outside?
And what they had to say.
Okay, yeah, I think all Somali parents in general, it's unfortunate, but they care about what people think. You know, it's like, Yasin, I know you want to be a preschool teacher, that's great, but, like, you know, the other people, what they're gonna say, like, you know, and that's something that I would usually get. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's just important that you be 100% yourself. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you have to let your mom know how important it is to you. Not just like you mentioned it once a week. Like, you gotta let them know, like, every single day, Hoy, this is what I love, this is what's important to me. Let's not worry about what other people think. Because later on when you inspire, because I'm not gonna lie to you, when I started photography, there were other women in my neighborhood saying, oh, this is nonsense, like, what do you, like, come on, like, he's wasting his talent. But then after, subhanAllah, when I came back working with Love Army and sharing all these images from Somalia, my mom's phone was, like, blowing up, because people were saying, oh my God, we've seen Yasin, the stuff he's doing, amazing, mashallah, like, we love it, like, you know. So I think it's just important that you just stick to it, and show to your parents that you're good, because that's all they care about, to make sure that you're going to be fine. And just have the last thing, have trust in Allah, because I think that's the most important thing as well.
To be honest, I don't have that problem. Because it was the first 3 years I didn't get enough money to call myself an entrepreneur or someone who making beautiful things and get his own money. I couldn't say that to my mom. until the neighbors came, the Somali neighbors came to my mom's and they said, I saw your kid on TV and I think he's famous and you need to be proud. And then after I know, I never go to Somali weddings because it's not my thing. But I will go if my mom asks me. She asks me always. We get 11 kids in the family, but she always asks me. You know why? Because when we're sitting on the wedding and people recognize me, said, is that Omar Munie? Yeah, that's Omar Munie and that's my son.
You sure she didn't just want to get your bags to the wedding or something? Tricked you. Runta waxa weeye, like criticism, like as a filmmaker, everybody's a critic. Like today I was at the bagel on Brick Lane grabbing a bagel and this guy runs across. He goes, yo Mo, great films man, but you know that scene where the guy has a fight? It's terrible man, what are you doing? I'm eating a bagel, you know? So this is a normal thing sometimes. You can't just get angry or hard. I think criticism, sometimes people are passionate enough just to give you their view. You just got to take it on board and just say, did he buy the ticket or did he watch it illegally? If they say if they bought a ticket, you go thank you and walk off. But I think criticisms sometimes in my early career, like the stuff that I used to do, people would say stuff and I'll get angry. And then I realize, why am I getting angry? They're just trying to either improve you or it's their insecurities, you know? And after a while, it's water for duck's back, you know? As long as you're happy with what you're doing and you're at peace with it, who cares what they think, you know? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, like Mo said, I think criticism is good. I think Somalis, we're very good at giving criticism. We're not that great at giving constructive criticism. So if you guys are ever going to critique someone's work, just tell them where they can better it, what improvements they can make. In terms of family, it's a funny one because I have a lot of family and my sisters are probably my number one fans. So every time I come back from a shoot, I would sit there when I edit, they would come look at my work, they'll tell me, yeah, I like that one, or that one is not too great, no, that one's nice, that one's nice. My mom, she never really understood, like to her all the pictures look the same, whether it's edited or not edited. And then as time started to go on, it was literally Ramadan that just passed. I was at Tahajjud praying with my mom and my family, and then someone tapped a girl in a few rows ahead and said, oh, is that Mina Shoots and her mum? And my mum was like, why are Mina Shoots? And I had to explain to her that was my alias name. So my mum was she never criticized me, but she never really said nothing much, except for when other people would see my work, and then she would be like, ha, hebel ba ii sheegtay inay sawirahaada ka aragtay Facebook ama website-kaada ku aragtay, ha, isoo tus kaale isoo tus. And then it's weird, one day an article in BuzzFeed came out about Somali creatives and it circulated in my mum's WhatsApp group chats, and then she just saw the thumbnail, a picture of me, and she was like, Allah, wa gabadhaydi, and the rest is history. But in terms of criticism, not everyone's going to like your work. You can't be everyone's cup of tea. Otherwise, you'll just get taken for a mug. So it is what it is.
You know, just to add on to it, just a little funny story. So I did an interview for Bar. You know Bar? Bar is over there, great. She does this kind of interviews online. Check it out. And we did this really great interview where she asked great questions. And I went in the comment just to see how it looked. I'm not that vain, but I was kind of interested because this is Bar. I'm a big fan. And there's this one comment, and he goes, oh, he's such a cool Somali guy. What an inspiration. But he's got a tattoo? Well, nas. And I was like, what's that got to do with me? You know? And sometimes you just get criticism coming at you in so weird ways. You just forget him. Just move on with your life, you know?
That's quite a tough one because I'm female, visible hijabi, I'm black, I'm an ethnic minority and I'm young. So in the industry, or in terms of just photography as a whole, people always try to take the piss. They will expect you to do free work for them and whatnot. But I think when I started off photography, there was quite a few Somali female photographers that I had been following online. So people like Amal Saeed from London, Halima Jama from Toronto. There was quite a few, but I have faced criticism, but the most important thing is just to brush it off. At the end of the day, as long as you know you're the shit, no one else's opinion matters.
You know, before it was last Friday. Yeah, Friday I came to London, and Shirley said on the last moment, "I think we need to make English bracelets for the English people." So we bought some pieces with us, and you can buy it by Shirley.
Thank you, Bob, for putting it on. It's on the 4th of November, which is a Saturday. We're going to screen it around 12 o'clock, and then after that, we've got a whole section at the BF5, and there's going to be catering, tea, coffee. Till 5 o'clock, we could hang out and have fun by the sea, by the river, actually. So you're all welcome. I think I'm going to put on the invitation of the flyer on Tuesday, inshallah. So you are all welcome. Yeah.
And it's funny because you introduced me in the beginning like a writer. I'm not a writer. But I wrote a book. I just wrote a book. And I also brought some books with me. It calls Live Your Dream, and I think it's very interesting if you're thinking like, what should I do with my future, and how should I do to make it with my dreams. So it's very interesting. Not the reason that I write it, but you know, I think it will inspire you. And because I see everyone is so listening, and yeah, I was hoping that I took some like 200 pieces with me, but I didn't. I just took some 10 pieces. Don't fight, okay?
Since everybody's just talking about like their merch, books and stuff, I'm coming out with some merch for the kids for Shoot for Peace. It's gonna be the money's gonna be for continuing the programming, getting cameras for kids, and also the girls program that I was talking about. So you can come see me later on after for me to give you more information, or you could just go on my Instagram. It's gonna be there, YESCENE. Thanks, guys.
Since we're selling stuff, my DVDs are on iTunes. If you come to me, I'll give you a discount. So iTunes, Shankar Montana, $4.99. Hard copy, £10, but I'll give you a discount. It's all right, yeah? You got to hustle, right? You know what I mean?
Go for it.
You know, to be honest, to work in the creative business is not easy. That's the way it is. It's not easy. But I believe you can be everything what you want to be. If you just believe. And that's so important. And it's also important to get the right feedback from your parents, really. And, you know, my mom, she don't really understand what I'm doing. That's okay. It's okay. Because I love my mom the way she is. You know, it's a totally different world what I'm doing. You know, sometimes I travel over the whole world and I don't say it because I know she loves me and she sees me always like the young kid. And you know how it goes if you don't marry. You always say the kid at home. And, you know, but it's very important to share your dreams with them. Just sharing like what you do. Just sharing what you're doing, and they don't know better. They're always thinking we need to be doctors. And I hate doctors, you know? And there is more things to do in Europe, and everyone get this opportunity. That's why I'm really, really happy to be a Dutch man, because they gave me opportunities, and you need to be thankful for those people around you. You know, thankful. Sometimes we forget that. Please be thankful. First of all, to be thankful to Allah, but also thankful around you. the Dutch government been very good for me. That's why I do a lot of projects. I help a lot of people. I know it's crazy to say it, but it is. It's not for me that I must do that. It's very naturally, because I know the time that I had nothing, and now I'm in the time that I have everything. And the best things you can do is giving back. Give back.
I'm going to tell you something that I wish somebody had told me when I first started photography, and this is advice to anybody in the creative field. It honestly doesn't matter how long you've been doing something, because you can come out, start photography, start graphic design, whatever, in 6 months, and because of your eye and because of your drive, you could be better than someone who was working for 10 years, you know? Because at the end of the day, it's not about years or any of that. It's about what you bring to the table, your eye, how you see things, you know, and your uniqueness is what's important. And if you can bring that to the table and show how you're different from someone else and how you're better, it won't take you years or 10 years or 5 years. You know, I know photographers, I have friends that are, they're doing really, really incredible stuff, and they picked up a camera or they've been doing things for just like under a year. But you know, you have to put in that hard work. You gotta go at that every day, you know. So it's not just about, I like this, I'm gonna do it once a week, once a month. You gotta put your heart and soul into that. You gotta do that every day.
You know, sometimes young people kind of feel entitled to, I want to be like a pilot, and they feel like they should be because they want it. And it was weird, like a couple of months ago I sat with Steve McQueen, and he's a really great guy, and what he used to do, which now I do, however, if a filmmaker comes to him, or an aspiring filmmaker goes, I want to be a film director, he goes, don't do it, it's the hardest thing, you will never make it. And he'll stand there and watch the person, and if the person goes, I still want to do it, Steve McQueen goes, come along, because that person, no matter, if you tell them how hard it is, and they still want to do it, you know that's in their heart, you know? So now there's actually so many young Somalis that want to get into film, you know, and they're prepared to work. They make their own short films and stuff like that. Right now, all I can say to the young Somali creative is, you're doing it, carry on doing it, you know, build your industry. So right now is the medium for a young creative person, you're online. You've got YouTube, you've got, Instagram, you could sell your own films online. You know, you don't need some big corporate, you know, studio to give you a check. You know, you just got to know how to package it, sell it to your community, and sell it to the international film market. It's those little steps. As a creative person, anybody in this room could do it, Ronta. All it needs is that self-belief, you know? So alhamdulillah, there's us out there, we could build a community. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, just to touch on what Mo said, I would say believe in yourself. I know that is the most cliche thing ever, but once you start to believe in yourself, and there's borderline cockiness and then borderline arrogance, but as long as you believe in yourself and you have people around you who have similar visions, who want to graft, who want to get to the top, and like the sky's the limit, but they want to go above that, as long as you've got that, then you will make it to the top. It says a lot about the people that you keep around you, so as long as your friends respect your hustle, respect your grind, respect what you do, and they always support you, and your family support you. I'm going to say a quick comment. I know you lot are sick of hearing about family and how important it is, but for a good year and a half, one of my sisters used to drop me to events all across London and pick me up. Half this time I was shooting these events for free. I wasn't making any money from it, but I was just building my portfolio, and she always used to drop me, pick me up, even if she had work the next morning or I had work the next morning, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I never used to drive. And the importance of having that around me, knowing that people were basically sacrificing things just to see me get to where I wanted to be, then that said a lot, and that is what kept me going. So to the youth, I can't say, I'm a youth myself, so I can't give the youth advice, but all I would say is keep grafting, keep grinding, and if other people don't believe in you, believe in yourself, and God willing, inshallah, that they will make it. So that's that.
The reason, I don't know about some of the other guys on this panel, people, But the reason why I didn't mention my father is because I've never met my father before. My mom raised me by herself, and she was both roles, and she did the best job I think a woman could do, and alhamdulillah, she's my hero. And so that's one of the reasons I didn't mention him. But I mean, if later on in the years, if I meet him, then I'll definitely mention him, inshallah.
You know, the reason Hoya was my mum and dad, from an early age, but also I think, Somali mums are the backbone of the whole country. They take on so much. They're the ones that actually make the country, in my opinion. But my father, he's a great man, but I didn't know him that much, so I went back to discover more about him. And it's in the documentary, you go watch it. But I grew up with Hoya, and she, showed me the way. So, like every strong Somali woman, which is everyone, really. So that's it.
My dad is home. He's home. And, my mom, she did the most work. My dad had more wives. I hate that. And, my daddy always loves to talk about success and everything. And I hate to talk about success, especially not home. So, and I'm very proud of my mom, what she did. I'm really, really proud. Because my mom, she can't read. And she can't write. She had so much power. I can do a lot of things. But to be like her, she's amazing. That's why I talk so lovely every time about her. Without her, nothing.
I guess it's a reoccurring theme here about the mothers and their absent fathers. I know my dad, surprise, but the first time I met him was 8 years old, and we do keep in contact, we do talk to each other. He's now back home. But yeah, my mom raised us, and she just strived to make us the best people that we can be. We're growing up with sisters. I think it's more important to have your mum around. I'm not saying it's that important. It's important to have your dad, but it's more important to be raised with your mum. And wallahi, my mum's such an amazing woman, and I'm pretty sure everyone's mums are amazing people. Ahoya in the crowd came up to us during the break and just said how proud she was and how the theme of our mothers and families, but particularly mothers, made her proud. And if I could be half the woman that my mum is today, then I could die a happy woman.
I actually want to add something, just because I want you guys to know how, like, I love showing off my mom. Like, my mom's amazing. The thing is, I never really felt like my dad wasn't around, because from the age of like 3 until 9, my mom would, every single Friday, she would take off her hijab, put her bangs, 2 of them, and tie it like a mustache in front of her nose. Wallahi, I'm serious. Every Friday, like my whole life. And then she would say, "What do you want to tell your dad?" And it was this conversation I would have with my dad every single Friday. And she would tell me, and I would like say, "Oh my God, I miss you, and I did this and I did that, and my mom is bothering me," and all of this. Yeah, subhanallah, like it was so real. And even after I like kind of figured out, obviously you're 8 years old, you're not gonna think that this is your dad, right? But when I was 8, I still felt, the need to have this conversation, and that's what filled that void for me, which is my mom, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. But I have also a question, because I see a lot of ladies. What's happening with the boys? And the questions from the boys? You guys know everything? So we want to hear some questions from the boys.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was raised by my dad. And I guess the saddest part is that I wish I had the same connection with my mom as I do with my dad, but he literally was there for me, he paid for my education, he made sure that he was guiding me, and I'm not saying my mum neglected me, but throughout my youth, she wasn't around, and you know, it's whatever, yeah, but yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yes, bro. Love it. What's your question, man? We're all mother lovers here, man. Get out. So, you have a question?
Yeah, no, so my question is, since you asked me to ask you a question, it would most probably be, because obviously your mum's were the biggest part of your life, the fact that your dad wasn't there sort of hinder you at any moment in your life or through your travels, whatever you were doing?
No, he was there, but he went somewhere else. You know, he went obviously to Somaliland and fight and stuff like that. So I never knew that. So we discovered it. I discovered it when I went back home, Brunta. But you know, it was a thing where he never even talked about when I met him afterwards. So we had like a period of, you know, the defining moment for any adult having in your teens, Samaha. So when you don't have one half of your kind of like parenthood, it changes you. So the reason I kind of respect my Hoya so much is that she took that burden on, you know, and I think, let's not lie, you know, the Somali men, the fathers, you know, are not really sometimes the best. I'm not insulting anybody. It's the mothers, Somali moms, who have to handle everything, you know. And I just have huge, huge respect for Somali women. And they say, what's that saying? You know, the closest thing to God is a mother, in some sense. So I just have this massive worship for Somali women because, my God, the stuff that they go through, especially when I went back home, you know, it humbles you, man, you know. So I just got to pick up the women, you know. That's it. My sisters are strong and dedicated, and wallahi, like, I take more inspiration from my sisters, like not just my sisters, but my Somali sisters. They go further out and, you know, just are more pioneering than us men. We men have to step up now, you know. Seriously, we got to step up.
I'm so glad we're talking about this topic because, I mean, as a lot of us know, there is definitely that absence of fathers and a lot of family members. So I'm glad that this topic is coming up because, you know, Somalis, we don't have single issues. We do have a lot of issues, and it's good to talk about that. If you have any questions or comments, you could definitely do that. I just ask that if it's something that needs to have a trigger warning, just do that for folks here. This is just sort of like a safe space. Yep.
Hi, beautiful people. I just wanted to tell you I came alone by myself here, just because I love getting to know new cultures. And before that, I didn't. Thank you. Oh, you're all so sweet. Yeah, before I didn't even know that Somalia existed, and of course I didn't know where it is. But because of Yasin, he showed me how, through his pictures, how Somalian people are. And before that, because I didn't know anything about them, I also didn't know the bad things. So the only thing which is in my mind right now are just a positive and kind, smiling people. Thank you so much. Mashallah.
And thank you for embracing diversity. I see it. Because I think it's very natural if you're making success, the other things, like when it doesn't work, you always get that. And I had that moment, especially when I was 17. For example, I was trying to sell the bags on France. That works. I was selling after 35 guilders, then 50 guilders. That works. And then I was thinking, I'm gonna make it now. I'm gonna make future. I will go to the shopping center and I will go with my luggage and I'm going to sell all these bags, 10 bags. I always made it 10 bags. And really, I was going to all the shops there in the shopping center. There were like 40 shops. And no one wanted to buy my bags. Not because they wouldn't look good, because it was just, I was 17 years, I came there. I came there with 10 bags, and they were thinking like, where these guy took these bags from? He's black, he's young, crazy, you know? So no one believes me. And that was one of the hardest time ever for me, really. After 12 years through it, I never had a so difficult time. I know it's strange. Now I'm 12 years further. If I'm driving in a very, very expensive car, they're still saying, where this guy takes these cars from. So it never feels so good. But I can tell you, from that moment, I learned how to be very powerful and never stop dreaming. It's not a cliche. It is. It's always like that. You know, and I'm not happy. I'm very happy when I failed that time because I learned. I learned also the pain. And that pain I never want to feel again. And from that time, I never felt pain like that. Because in the same year, I was flying to New York. I sold on the biggest warehouse in the world, Macy's. And everything was forgotten.
I think you can't do this by yourself. Like, it's not gonna just happen because you put in hard work. Personally, I believe you have to ask God for help. You have to make dua, you know, because you could be putting in everything, but you need also that help, and you need to keep faith. You know, I wanted to work as a photographer the first day I picked up a camera, you know, but was that, you know, gonna happen? No, it took me 4 years, you know, until I quit my job and now work as a freelance photographer. You know, in the beginning when I was posting photos, some of my friends would comment such negative things like crying faces, crying emojis, like 1 million crying emojis on all of my photos, to the point, subhanAllah, where I would delete those photos because of how much it hurt me. And I don't even have those photos anymore because I deleted them, you know? And I think about it and I go like, wow, like I should not let people affect my love for this, like my dream. You know, so you just have to keep faith and hold on to it and pray. Just keep faith, hold on to it, keep going. You know, but it doesn't mean, hey, tomorrow I want to become a photographer. I'm going to quit my full-time job. And no, you have to make some money, keep a part-time job, do something. You gotta, you have to be logical about it, right? Yeah, you're chasing your dream, but 2 weeks in, you're like still trying to figure out how to use a camera, and you don't have a job. So it's not gonna work. But if I were to leave one thing, you guys just keep faith and follow your dream, of course, yeah, but just keep faith and work hard on it.
You know, failure for me, Hawaiian, I kind of love failure. It tests me, you know? It's a test of your character if you fail. Do you run away? Do you face it? I failed so many times, it's ridiculous. It's just I don't talk about it, or you will never see it. You know, it's... When I started off, like I was saying to you, I was being a runner, I was working for free, for nothing. That's a failure in a sense where I failed uni, you know? You get taught that if you go to uni, you get a grade, but I didn't have it, so I felt like a failure. But you have to get up and test your character and see how far you go. Second failure was, how do I make a music video, you know? How do I get into that industry? I have to show him something, you know? So I spent 5 months making a rap track. Can you believe it? So I thought the first video was pow, but really I had to show him a video. So no artist would give me their song at all, you know? So I was like, how do I do this? So I have to make my own rap group. So I'm not lying to you, I spent 5 months in this community music studio, made a beat, got the local rappers to come together and rap, and then I quit the band, you know? And, you know, they're still my best friends and stuff like that, and they still, you know, tell me that was it the Robbie Williams of Take That? But what's really important was it's, you know, failure really tests your character. And, you know, when I did the first film, which was a hit, Your House Adon, you think you could go to the BFI and they will back a second-time director because of I ticked every single box. And they said no, you know, and it blew me away. This is a group that I used to look up to and dream about working with, and I achieved everything. And they'll roll out the carpet and give you a film, and they said no to me. And that was pretty much a sign of saying the industry doesn't back young black Somalis or Muslims at all, in a sense, subconsciously. You know, they didn't want to say it. They were just like, he's not for us, you know? So what do? You test your character. So what I decided to do is, right, forget it. I'm going to raise this myself. So I spent 9 months screening Shank in a cinema and having the whole place filled out with investors. And each one gave me 3, 4, 10K with a percentage of the profits. I raised 1.9 million, you know, and made my own dream happen, you know? So failure is a great thing, man. It tests you and it makes you more hungry and dangerous as well. So embrace it.
Me growing up, I had the problem of balancing my identity. Being a British-born person, I couldn't speak Somali to save my life, and I'm sure my cousins are somewhere here, they could vouch for that. Growing up, whenever I used to go visit my father in the UAE, he used to sit there with me, ask me about life, and say, I'm only going to talk to you in Somali. So I used to tell my mum to translate what I'm saying for him, because even though he could speak English, he just wanted me to speak Somali. So when I came back, when I went to high school, I took it on myself to learn how to speak Somali, and it was the definition of the Hoya Matala Somali. But I got there in the end, and now I speak it pretty much fluently. And I guess it's grasping and holding on to the things that you associate with your culture, because everybody has different ideas of what their culture means to them. So for me, my culture might be language, it could be music. For some people, it could be food. It could be the togetherness of Somali people. So and as much as it's hard to believe, you can balance out being British and being Somali. It's not like you have to pick which one you want to be. And once you find that balance, it's always about maintaining it. So at work, I could eat my lunch with a fork, but I know when I go home, I'm going to eat it with my hands. I'm not going to sit in the canteen at work going like this with Brice. So it's always about finding the right balance, and also just loving where you're from, especially in the media. Again, they don't always portray Somalis to be the bad thing. So back when I was in high school, Somalis were not the thing. Being Somali was not the thing. So people were very much embarrassed. And now we're in a time on social media where Somalis are popping. Somalis are the shit. Everybody wants to be Somali or be with a Somali girl. So
Going to share a little personal story. I grew up, like after the war, we went to Kenya. We were there for several years, and then we went to India before going to the US. So for the longest, India was what I thought was home until I returned this summer. And I was like, no, this is not it, because there's so much racism that it doesn't even let you have a space where you feel like this is home. You like within 4 hours, that idea was just knocked out of me. I was like, wait, this is not home. And this was the first time after over a decade that I've been away from the US for like about now 5 months. And I never thought that was home. Like that idea was never embedded in me ever. But now that I'm away from there, I was like, okay, that is home. Like I miss it. And then Kenya, which I never thought was home too. So in that way, you know, balancing these different identities, whether you're Somali American, Somali British, Somali whatever, it just gives you the reminder that identity is so fluid. It's not stagnant. And I think a lot of times as Somalis, we tend to make identity something that's stagnant, like this is my identity, but it can change so much. And I guess just embracing it is beautiful in many ways. Like you have Somalis who speak so many different languages. Just like within my family, you will have those who speak Hindi, Urdu, French, like all these different languages. And it just enhances and it just makes being Somali a lot more unique, I think. So there is like the blessings and, you know, I mean, there's definitely that, the bad things that came with the war, you know, being displaced, not having a place, you know, to call home, being away from it, have never been there. But at the same time, we have, like, it's just added to all these different cultures that we have. You know, so I think that's beautiful in a way. Yeah.
Hopefully I understand your question. Like I said in my story, I started to make this first bag, and I sold it for 35 guilders that time, and it never changed. In the first 3 years, I learned a lot of. In the first 7 years, I always said to my workers, like, I gave more away than I sold in the first 7 years. It was the marketing. And I never worked with banks. I never worked with investors. So everything starts with this bag. And in the same time, I was learning a lot of. And until now, I'm learning. And it motivated me also to doing my things on my own way. And like no one else with strange money said to me like, Omar, you have to go that way because that's better. No, I want to go this way because that feels better for me. Because everything what I do with my feelings. And everything what you touch, it needs to have a story. And the story needs to come from the heart. People understand that. That is not a marketing, it's really from the heart. And until now, especially now, I don't need any money from no one else because you know exactly what you're doing. And I failed a lot of times, but that's a learning process. And I'm glad that I failed, right?
There's so many, one is I don't beat it down people's throat, you just subtly talk about the kind of what we were taught and I express it. I don't need to have ma'wis in a scene or nothing like that. It's just certain words that I put into my films, And like the first film, we had a Adin, in the mosque, the call to prayer, and people were screaming at me because they were like, you can't do that. I went, why? I was born like this, So that if you watch Shank, there's a call to prayer in the background. And that apparently was the first time in UK that it was allowed. So I do stuff, but I don't scream about it. It's subtly done. But as a Muslim Somali, my art now, how is this Somali Netflix now, It's creating a platform for us to express ourselves and feel confident, And the goal is to work with Minnie, hopefully if she wants to, if I could afford her. There's so many talented people like Minnie, like AJ, Jama. The people here are so incredibly talented. I look at them and I'm so proud, but I'm also kind of thinking I need to, it's like my responsibility, it's like, let's put it all together and build something, without politics, without qabil, wahasodan. It's just art and expression, and I think that's what true Somali Muslim should be, and your scale up thing really is simply, as a refugee Somali, I work in the most middle class, upper class industry, which is the film industry. Everyone that is a director comes from a very rich family. My thing was that I just was never scared being in the room with them. It's not to be afraid in a room with, other people that you think you feel like they're inferior to because of the class system or their background. I just knew I was very good and I had no fear, Sometimes and I know I could achieve something. Also the business side, which is knowing your numbers, your law rights. So it doesn't hurt anybody to pick up a book and read about your career paths, what's the legality, how to protect yourself, the kind of conversation you should have as a business manager, right? They don't teach you. You got to teach yourself. Those kind of things are like your badges, and that's why for the weather thing, I had to really understand the business side of things. I spent a whole year building this, and it's just self-improvement, but I'm excited about showing this to you guys next year. Everybody could subscribe to it, inshallah. I'm still plugging away, aren't I?
It's all good, bro. How I implement my Somaliness into my art. I think I've grown up knowing that Somalis are storytellers, and I've dedicated my personal photography, to storytelling. So even within the program that I run with the kids, Shoot for Peace, I teach kids that some of the assignments that we have, I say this is a storytelling piece, and you take a photo and then you talk about it, right? And one of the kids, for example, 8-year-old Somali boy, took a photo of his father's hands dripping with water. And he has to stand up in front of us and tell us, okay, what is that? Why is your dad's hands dripping with water? And he was like, my dad is a construction worker. You guys know what construction? Is that the same here?
Yeah. Okay, the builder kind of thing.
There's so many different words, So I just want to make sure you guys are understanding exactly what I'm saying. He's a construction worker. So he has to wash his hands pretty often. And he was telling us that his father has to wash his hands maybe 5-6 times a day because it's always getting dirty, and he makes him wash his hands every time that he washes his hands as well. And so he was just talking to us about how washing hands is so important. Yeah, that's your phone?
I just called the police.
Oh, no, it's all good. But yeah, I was just talking to him about storytelling was important, and that's how I implement that with the kids that I teach and my own personal art as well. You said things that I've run into, like bumps. I think probably fee. You know, when you're a photographer and you say, as any artist actually in general, first of all, there's no $10 an hour, $11 an hour, 12 pounds an hour, sorry, whatever. There's none of that, right? There's like, you have to tell us what you're charging. And it's the onus is on you to tell us what your art is worth. And that's something that I like found difficult. It was like, whoa, like I have to decide how much I'm gonna charge somebody else. And it was very difficult for me to come up with this because sometimes I would give a number and someone would say, cool, right away. And I'd be like, oh no, I could have gotten more money, you know? And sometimes I would say a number and the person doesn't email me back, right? So it goes both ways, but that's something that I definitely had to learn. And at the end of the day, the way for me was, the way I thought it was the best way to go about it was, you have to figure out a number where you are okay 100% with whether the budget is $1 million, whether the budget is lower than that, it doesn't matter. What you are gonna be happy with and what you think you deserve, you give that number and so you'll be happy with that.
The change I want to see in the world, it starts in yourself. So everybody will have a different change that they want to see. I want to see more smiles, more happiness, and just success. Success everywhere. That's that. To the sister over there who asked about the collabs and the sellouts and whatnot, I think when it comes to the creative industry, depending on what industry you're in, you would have a manager. I don't think any photographers or filmmakers or anything have managers or management or anything. It's only when you get to certain industries. I'm not surprised that if they're in that industry that they have a manager who's white, who's black, because that industry is probably dominated by those type of people. But just because that they've made it don't mean that they don't have time for their people, because and as for the collabs, the Somali creative industry is pretty small because of social media. Social media connects people all over the world. Like I knew about Yasin before I met him. I knew about Mo before I met him. Same for Omar. And I think in the UK there is quite a tight-knit Somali creative industry because everyone follows each other on social media. Again, just because someone has a team that's not Somali does not make them a sellout at the end of the day. I just need to really be specific on that, because at the end of the day, the love that they probably have for their people in their heart don't necessarily show it all the time. And a prime example is Amina Adan. She's one of the biggest models probably ever. She opened the door for Somali models, and people always get onto Somalis who are married to non-Somalis, but they never forget their roots. Mo Farah, Iman, Halima Adan, all of them, they never forget their roots. So just because they've made it and they're successful, they're not a sellout. Big up to my people then. You know. Regarding the whole Somali TV things, I think that's a whole different industry for the young Somali creatives, because that's dominated by older Somali men. I've met a lot of them, I've pitched ideas to them, and a lot of them turned me down. And then the next thing I know, the BBC, I wasn't meant to say their name, but certain people would then contact me and ask me to use their work that I photograph Somali events. And I just say to them, if you couldn't bother to send down one of the 4, 5, 6 Somali men that work at your station to cover it, then you can't use my work. And it's just a matter of, as young people, as we support each other, but I guess I don't owe it to someone just because they're from my background to bring them in. I can open the door for them, but it's a matter of them taking the steps to come into the door. So that's that. I hope that answered it.
I think it's very stupid to have a marketing man who promote your works, because it takes a lot of money. It's stupid. Don't do that. And I think the the biggest deal you can make it by your own. Really, it doesn't need. It's all a program. They think it's better. It feels like we're more professional like that, because in the same time you're giving like 10 or 20% to that marketing guy. It's very stupid. And to sharing the dream is for me very important. I already, when I was like after 2 years, I had a lot of dreams completed, and then I was starting to help others. So I helped a lot of students. I did it with the Minister of Education in the Netherlands, and it worked very well. And then what I want to do tonight, I see all different faces, and I feel also everyone want and have a dream. I would like to help you all, because if you come to our production in the Netherlands, I will take the time and to show you how I did all my skills, to sharing all the dreams. And if you don't have time, just send us an email and I will help you also, because my dream is also your dream.
I want positivity and love to surround everybody, of course, but Allah says in the Quran, "Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim," right? Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what's within themselves. So that's why I myself am taking steps to change in my community and around my home. And this is what I advise for people as well. Just change the small steps, create the big, and they turn into bigger steps. And that's most important. So yeah.